Like most big franchises, Resident Evil has had its share of, let's just say, less than stellar games. Some weren't fans of the new direction that the mainline games took, while other games such as Survivor and this gem aren't exactly great, but at least people enjoy those games. Well, not this one, and yes, this is a sealed copy of Resident Evil 2 for the Gamecom. Umbrella Corps is nowhere near as bad as the reviews and general consensus deem it. That's not to say it's not without faults, because I'd be lying if I said it didn't. I just think if it was given a fair chance and support, it may have had a semi-decent shot at surviving a tad longer than a week. A third-person online multiplayer game was the last thing I can think anyone was expecting Capcom to announce as a new entry into the Resi universe. Taking cues from the PvP mode in Operation Raccoon City, another game with mixed reviews, your aim each match is the same every time. Kill the other team and survive. You might have to collect samples, briefcases, or defend an objective whilst doing so, but that's about as complicated as it gets. Each map takes the form of classic Resident Evil locations such as the Spencer Mansion, outside the RPD in Raccoon City, the village, and others. Monsters specific to each area roam about, such as zombies, Cerberus, Ganados, and more as well. But because of the zombie jammer on your back, they pose no threat unless engaged or if your jammer gets broken in a firefight. It's an interesting concept that works in theory but is completely broken in execution. Controlling your character, a test subject who just tries out Umbrella's new crazy BOW experiments, is where things get a little awkward. Movement is okay, not great, but also not responsive enough for a competitive shooter. Same for the gunplay. The choice of weapons is extremely limited, with it boiling down to some SMGs, shotguns and pistols. The Brainer, a massive axe that can be charged up to deal more damage, because of course it can, is a neat addition but useless against other players unless you manage to catch them off guard. Or if they're not good enough to kill you before you actually get up on them, you can just KO them in one hit. There are also a handful of different types of grenades that are sometimes good for throwing out. Most matches end relatively quickly, as you can't take much damage regardless of what weapon or monster hits you. Taking cover and knowing the layout of each map definitely helps in prolonging your life, if only for a few seconds more. But to be honest, none of this matters anymore, as the biggest issue with this game is the lack of players. Finding a match for this game is harder than making an ice sculpture on the sun. I have this for PC and for PS4, just don't ask why. It's the same as this again. On PC, it's next to impossible to get a game unless you luck out or set one up by posting on forums and the Steam community page. On PS4, you have a better chance, but actually finding people who play the game as intended is a struggle. Every match I got into to get footage for this review was just people boosting their scores to get trophies, hence the majority of this video actually being from the single player mode, which consists of 24 bite-sized missions only against monsters. When the game was active, which wasn't long, it was quite enjoyable. Sure, it has its flaws, like a lack of game modes, but at least it was actually playable. But it didn't take long for the player base to drop completely and turn into a dead game. Actively playing the objective and upgrading your weapons meant there was a reason for progression and continued play. But the community and the wider gaming audience strongly disliked this game from its first reveal, already deciding its fate on release. Its ties to the Resident Evil universe and trying to present a deeper look into Umbrella's experiments was an interesting concept, but largely missed by only having small text descriptions before missions alluding to various plot points throughout the series. Usually at the end of these reviews, I usually say whether you should buy or even play the game, but with this one it's actually quite hard. If you're looking to buy it because it falls underneath the Resident Evil umbrella, then you may get some small enjoyment out of all the references that are in it. It does go on sale super often for less than like £2, but the only thing I would take into consideration is the fact that you're not going to find anyone else to play with unless you want to just play with boosters. Depending how good you are, the single player can last basically about 40 minutes as well. I say if you already own it, and if you already do, why are you watching this video, then hop online so the rest of us can actually have a game against people that aren't just boosting for trophies. But if you don't mind wasting what is essentially the price of like a pack of donuts, then by all means go ahead and play it. Anyways, I'm going to go hop back online and sit for hours upon hours upon hours hoping to actually find someone to play against. I've been Tom from VictorPros Gaming, thanks for watching and have a great gaming day.